Hello and welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Sent,
I'm Axion.
and we are continuing with our discussion of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn: The Final Empire while we play through The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Seasons. So, have you changed the seasons at all? I know you did winter once.
Yes, I unlocked summer right before the last dungeon.
Okay.
I have not unlocked autumn or spring yet.
Gotcha. Right. So, we've talked a fair bit about what you need to really run an empire or a revolution, and also the fact that Kelsier is about as subtle as a flying brick with a sparkler on it. And these kind of tie together because there is something else that you kind of need to even get either of these started. The ability to convince people. For those who play D&D or know people who play D&D, there's kind of a thing that, charisma is either the most useless stat or the most broken stat, depending on how you use it. Axion can verify that in our first campaign that we ever played, kind of completely destroyed everything because I played a charisma tank.
Admittedly, you also were mechanically broken because Mythic is busted.
My point is, I wasn't even trying to do this. This was the second character I'd ever made in the first campaign I'd ever played through. The 3 sessions of how do I roll dice aside that we did. So,
and in that game, you played a paladin, so...
Charisma's fun. But yeah, charisma is just basically your personal magnetism, your ability to influence those around you. And charisma is highly necessary to basically everybody in Mistborn because, well, if we're sticking with D&D rules, it's not only your ability to get information out of people, it's your ability to scare people, to project the feelings you want, to lie as needed, and they're thieves. They have to be able to disguise what they're doing. So, yeah. It wouldn't really make sense to talk about this and not talk about the intense role of the powers of persuasion and just raw charisma.
Which means
Kelsier
we're talking about Kelsier again.
Yeah, Kelsier is a pretty obvious choice here because of the whole I'm building myself up to be a symbol, to be worshipped and admired by people. But he actually wasn't the main reason I proposed this episode. That would be Breeze.
Okay. So Breeze is the team's soother. He has the power to manipulate emotions. But as we saw in the earlier episode where we were talking about the characters, and also the episode where we were talking about Vin learning to use her various powers and being trained by the team, Breeze does not rely solely upon his allomancy to do his job. He is an exceptionally good judge of character, and a pretty persuasive person just in his own right.
Yep, which is something that he actually says is necessary for being either a soother or a rioter. Because Vin kind of takes the Kelsier approach, which is just, well, what does it matter what they're thinking? I'm going to make them think what I want them to think. But then they'll know. If you already have a read on someone, you know how to subtly adjust their mindset, so they don't notice you've been messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to the whole illusion of choice situation. Because it is brought up. If you soothe someone, are they making a choice, or have you made that choice for them?
And it's an honest question to ask. Yay, money. It's kind of a question that any story that involves mind control or telepathy or emotional influence is going to have to grapple with. Because any situation where your characters are not 100% in control of their own emotions when supernatural powers are involved is going to raise that kind of inquiry.
Granted, the world of Scadrial does provide ways to get around that. Like, if you are trained to recognize if your emotions have been altered, you can deal with that then and there. It's mentioned that all of the obligators know that, which is actually how they get onto Vin's trail in the first place.
Yep.
There's also smokers, those who can throw up copper clouds and dull the effects of allomancy. I would say negate, but as we've seen, Vin, for reasons that will be explained in later books, has the ability to pierce through them.
Yep, as does the Lord Ruler, because he's just that powerful.
But yeah, when Vin trains with Breeze, she gets a really good read on exactly how he works. He sits in the crowd, he gauges the timbre of the speech, and he has a signal system for the soothers and writers who work with him for, okay, this is what we want them to focus on. And it's a fairly subtle system. It's, what color are the servant girls wearing?
Yep, at least in the situation in Breeze, in Clubs' shop where they're having the meeting. I'm sure that in other areas where, say, I have to go back and buy a shield now.
Yeah, I'm sure they adapt it, but it's actually a really good cover because even with a setting like this where it's all ska, people have a tendency to ignore, quote, the help. Experience. I worked retail for way too long, and you're not really seen as a person by a lot of the people who shop.
Yep.
Imagine going to Walmart and finding out, like, after you leave that all of the employees are, like, part of an elaborate system to enchant you to buy more. Actually, don't let casinos figure out this one simple trick.
Why has a modern fantasy series not done this?
I don't know. Maybe because we already know it and it's a little too real?
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, heck, I might do something with it. But, yeah. So, charisma is necessary for everything to work. And it does matter. It doesn't really matter if it's magical charisma or just innate charisma. Because, as we've seen from how they've described Kelsier prior to his imprisonment, he was always like this even before becoming an allomancer. Get that piece of heart. Nope. Does she always go for that first?
I think she does. But I think
Okay.
I need to get that piece of heart from her if I want the whole thing. But I was kind of stuck on the other side, and I was like, I should grab the things I can actually reach, because I'm not going to beat her to that piece of heart.
That's fair. But yeah, Kelsier has always been just incredibly charismatic and convincing. He's just more so now that he can actually magically back it up.
Yep. But Kelsier also doesn't use that kind of magic very often. He can do it, and he has done it, but most of the time he tends to leave that to Breeze. Because,
Yep.
as he says when he's explaining things to Vin, it's not one of the many, many powers he has that he spends a lot of time using. So he doesn't have as much experience with it. He knows how to use it, but, as we said in the last episode, jack of all trades, master of none. Stupid likes.
Which is not a problem Vin's going to have, because she got trained by specialists.
Yep.
As opposed to how Kelsier was trained just by another Mistborn. Vin is also sneakier than Kelsier. And as we've seen, she's a little more willing to use soothing on people. Like, Kelsier and Marsh in particular, because she wants to learn more about what's going on. And they both mentioned that she's so subtle at it, they almost didn't realize she was doing it. Which means they probably shouldn't have had her train with Breeze. Or should. I don't know. I'm not a cop.
And we thank you for not being one.
Anyway. But I do kind of want to look at the ethics, because Ham actually brings it up, of how much of their agency are you taking away by altering their emotional state? Because you're not making the decision for them. As Breeze puts it, I'm just putting him in a state of mind where he's more likely to want to do it. So how ethical is that? And is it any less ethical than a motivational speaker?
And I think the answer to that... Okay, I have the ring on that makes me immune to electricity. Why did that zap me?
I don't know.
Where are my rings? I guess I can only mess with rings in the ring shop. Anyway, you were saying, sorry.
No, you were saying, because I was asking, is it any less ethical?
Ah, right, yes, sorry. I got distracted because I got messed up. My best answer is that it depends. There are emotional tricks and gimmicks and things that people can do in dialogue that is more unethical than other situations. You can use various tricks and various schema. Oh, right. I don't want to go there. In conversations to manipulate people in different ways under the pretense of simply, like, being a motivational speaker or whatever. Okay, I can't pull these? I cannot pull these. I'm guessing I need to upgrade to my bracelet or something. Like, I'm not as familiar with the terminology for it as I am with for the video game equivalents.
Rhetorical techniques.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting back into my wheelhouse because I'm literally a debate and forensics coach.
Yeah. Like, when you're in video games, which is more my neck of the woods, you get things like Skinner boxes and reward pathways and things like that.
Operant conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to persuasive speaking, there are all sorts of things you can do to make yourself more appealing to the audience in some way. It goes back to the types of persuasion, which would be, whether the author's purpose is to persuade, inform, or entertain, and using ethos, logos, and pathos. So your credibility, like your expertise in the subject, logos, facts and figures, and pathos, I'm going to make you have feelings. And pathos is pretty firmly the domain of the emotional allomancer. But it's even subtle things, paralinguistics, which is basically everything that's not coming out of your mouth. It's your posture, your ability to make eye contact, your facial expressions, the gestures you use. This is why we tell people to stand up straight, find a neutral position to put your hands in, and make eye contact with your audience, because then you look engaged and you're ready to react. If you're staring at the ground and mumbling, you're not going to be very persuasive unless you're deliberately trying to cultivate an unassuming appearance. So even the no-nos for speech can be very useful in a situation that you would find in Mistborn, where you want to be unnoticed. You kind of want to project that, no, I'm not this confident person you need to listen to. I am a quiet person that you should ignore.
Yep, which we see Din do several times. I am small, I am unimportant, ignore me. I am not a threat.
Yep. So like Bree says, you need to be able to read the room to know what you need to accomplish. That's whether it's using regular charisma, just your normal public speaking, or if you're giving that a little bit of assistance with emotional allomancy. And yeah, you just need to know what you're doing. And knowledge is power. It always comes down to that. Heck, even pausing between your words has a marked impact on the delivery. But we know that from Tim Curry, because it's all about the anticipation.
Here we go. Oh, that's still too deep.
Patient.
Guess we gotta swing it back to winter to get out of here.
But yeah, I guess the takeaway here is that charisma is just a neutral force to be used for good or for ill. It depends on who gets their hands on it, because you could have really inspiring things, or you can have, Third Reich.
Yep. Or even just within this story, the Lord Ruler himself is pretty charismatic.
Yep. As mentioned before, the soothing stations. He is constantly making sure that the emotional state of the ska is never above a certain level, because he doesn't want them to feel inspired to rebel. And I'm not really sure if there's anything else to say.
Again, that's about connecting the games together. Well, in that case, if we're done, then we'll call it an episode here. And see you all next time.